All right, so it's Friday. Last weekend we took the pontoon out to the lake and kind of broke down on us a little bit. Well, it didn't really break down. It started overheating. Last Saturday, the day before we went out to the lake, we got it out, got the engine fired up. I had the muffs on here running water through the lower unit, and they fell off. And I didn't realize it right away. I think I may have burned up my impeller. I think that's why we were overheating last weekend. So I got a new impeller. It's in the other shop. I'm going to change that out today. And I also noticed that I'm leaking oil from this little weep hole on the lower unit down here, which is the gear oil for the drive. Never messed with this. I've done several of these impellers. Never messed with any of the lower unit, the gear oil or anything. I read somewhere that it could be due to bad oil. I doubt it. It seems pretty unlikely to me, but it's the cheapest and easiest thing for me to try right now. So we're gonna give it a shot. We'll change the oil on it, see if that helps. I don't know. So on the lower unit here, we've got two screws. This is gonna be the fill and the drain for the gear oil. I got a pan down there to catch my oil, so I'll pop these out. There it goes. Looking pretty sludgy. It's really not that dirty. It's not staining my fingers and it doesn't smell bad. I think it's been replaced in the last several years. We've only had this for, it's our third year with this pontoon now. I'm pretty skeptical that this is gonna work. I don't know. Okay, so I did some more reading and apparently I was wrong. This weep hole is, I guess, for excess oil. That's unburnt oil from the gas and oil mixture. If that's wrong, somebody tell me. But from what I've been reading on forums and stuff, this is just excess oil that's oozing out of there from. And I do a lot of idling with this thing, and I guess that's why. I know it's not good to idle a two-stroke a lot, but I don't have a trolling motor on here, so I use this for trolling a lot. We are going to put a four-stroke on here eventually when we can afford it. They're ridiculously expensive. So at least I get an oil change out of this. Yeah, I'm gonna tip it down and finish draining it and fill it up with oil. Might blow a little air in there too and see if that pushes it out any faster. That was not smart. So, yeah, it definitely comes out faster. All over my pants. Maybe you should put the rag in front of the lower hole before you blow air through it. Let's try that again. All right, I'm gonna fill this thing up now. Just got 80-90 gear oil. Got my plug ready, so you just put this to the drain plug, squeeze it in there until you got oil coming out of the top, the fill port up here. Or well, it's not really, I guess you'd call it the fill port. But I'm gonna fill it from the bottom because that's what the internet says to do, so we're gonna do it that way. But I've got my plug ready because as soon as it comes out of the top, I thread that in there to plug it off, and then I'll pull my quart away and the air should hold it. It should be like a vacuum and hold the oil in there from draining out. Ooh, that comes out quick, doesn't it? Better plug before I remove this because I will lose a little bit. That's it. Oil's changed. We'll clean all that off. Start pulling this lower unit apart so we can change the water pump up here. All right, we can start pulling apart this lower unit now, so I can get that water pump and the impeller changed. Water pump, impeller, whatever you want to call it. Got 4 bolts on each side and a couple of nuts. Should go get my cordless. Be a lot quicker. Break them loose at least, and then I'm going to do that. I'll leave a couple of those in there just a little bit until I get these 2 nuts off of here and here. There's there one down there. Oh, I guess there's just one here. Gotta grab a wrench. Oh good, it's separating. It's not going to be stuck. Okay, get all the bolts out. The whole thing should slide down. Oh. I forgot. Right here. We didn't break that. I think it's a forward and reverse shaft is up here. I think there's a nut or a bolt in here you got to take out. There it goes. So it was a set screw on this shaft right here, which is, I believe this is your forward and reverse selector. Okay, so I believe, I don't know if you can see that, there's this copper pipe right here. It goes down into a hole right there, and I believe that's the passageway for this weep hole right here, which is going up to the cylinder head, and excess oil is coming down that and coming out of the weep hole here. Again, if that's wrong, somebody tell me I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert on this. Looks like O-ring here. I believe the kit came with 2 new O-rings, probably one on the other end of this shaft. Probably gonna have to tap this with a mallet to get this housing to separate right here. I'm gonna take this over to the bench and do it where it's a little easier to work. All right. Oh, well, that didn't take much. Oh. That O-ring either broke when I pulled the tube off or it was already broken. That's all right, we got new ones for that. The impeller's in here under this cap. Just gotta take 4 bolts loose to get to it. Man, there's a lot of oil all over everything. I'm guessing that's all residual coming down from the engine. Okay, just pull these 4 bolts out. Oh yeah. Definitely burnt the crap out of it running it dry last weekend. Hopefully this is our overheating issue. I'm sure it is. Hopefully none of those pieces that are missing got sucked up into the engine and are lodged in there somewhere. Somebody's busted. All right, well, I'm gonna get all this cleaned up and then we'll start going back together with the new impeller. All right, so here's the new one. That's what it's supposed to look like. Comparison, that's how bad the old one was. This kit came with O-rings for, where'd that tube go? This tube here, you got one O-ring on each end, except they sent the wrong O-rings. So I'm gonna have to get my O-ring kit out and see if I've got some that'll fit that. Okay, I had some O-rings, so that's good. Just snap those on. Looks like this is identical on both ends, does not matter which way it goes back on. So this impeller has got a cutout. Let's see if you can see that right there. That's where the keyway sits when you slide it onto the shaft. This side needs to be down. The other side is just round. So this is the keyway. It came with a new one. It's just a little wedge that goes in there. That way it spins with the shaft. So I'm going to slide this on. And on the shaft down here is a flat spot for where this keyway sits. Hopefully we can use gravity to help us out here. Helps if you put it the right way, probably. Forgot to hit play there. So I had to use a screwdriver to hold that keyway in place while I got the impeller slid onto the shaft. And then when you put the cover on the impeller, rotate the shaft clockwise again, because that's the direction the engine turns. So that way those fins are already pre-folded in the right direction, because it actually bends those fins over just a little bit, like you can see on the old one. It's not, it's a pretty snug fit inside this cap here, so I just need to tighten these up. Finish those by hand. I don't want to use that for tightening those all the way. Okay. This, I'm gonna put some lube on these O-rings so that they slip in there good. All right, got the O-rings lubed up. And that's about it. We just need to go put it back on the boat or on the engine. So I guess I can install this now. There's no need to leave that off. Same as reverse. Just put the 4 bolts in, tighten her down, and then we'll be ready to put it on the boat. All right, before I throw this back together, I'm just gonna blow some air through this water passage here, just to make sure that it's clear and I didn't suck up any of the rubber pieces that came off of that impeller. I didn't hear anything moving along in there, so. Just a little bit of residual water, I think we're good. Okay, that took a little bit of finagling. There is on that copper pipe that travels up the lower unit here, you can actually see it from the exhaust port. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera. Get a flashlight and look up in there. Probably can't see it on camera, but you can actually see where that copper pipe goes into the top of the impeller, where that little hole was in that cap that went on top of the impeller. And you can there's enough of a gap here, you can actually move that pipe and guide it into the hole there. You have to make sure that's lined up, and you have to make sure your shift cable or your shift linkage coming up from the lower unit is aligned with this clamp right here when you slide everything together. Other than that, it was pretty simple. So I'm gonna finish bolting this up, and then we'll get the hose out and see if it works. All right, we got the boat pushed outside. I'm gonna use a trash can this time instead of the muffs. That way I make sure they don't fall off. We got plenty of water. No chance of me burning this thing up again. So Levi's going to shut the water off, and we'll fire this thing up here in just a second. All right, go ahead and crank it. Give it a little bit of throttle. Do you know where the throttle is? Yeah, just a little bit. That's probably good. We made it out to the lake to test the impeller on the engine today. It's working good. It's pumping water. No more overheating. So we're going to spend the day out here and see if we can't catch any fish. Get him, bud. Here, you take the camera, honey. I'm gonna reel mine up.
Is it fighting?
Good.
Yeah.
Wear him out.
Oh gosh. You're sure your lines didn't catch each other, right? It's an actual fish.
Is it fighting? Or are you snagged?
Or we just snagged on something. We're snagged.
Oh!
Dang it!
Alright. It is a fish. It was just dead tired in the water.
Come on, Muscles. It's just very weird.
Back there at the back of the boat. Hold on, let me make sure you're not snagged in the back of the boat.
Do we have a net?
No, you're snagged. Hold on, buddy.